All right, so in this video, I'm going to give you some tips that I learned when I took these carburetors off, in case you're going to do it. Main reason I took the carburetor off was to replace both of the boots going to the cylinder head. And while I was there, I pulled the bowls off and cleaned them out and took out the pilot jet and the main jet and sprayed them out just to make sure they're clean. It was a little dirty in there, but I've seen worse. One thing with the carburetor bowls, there's a rubber kind of a O-ring gasket between the bowl and the main body of the carburetor, and there's a groove that O-ring gasket fits into on the bowl itself. And when I took mine off, it was a pain to get that thing to fall back into the groove. It was almost like that rubber O-ring gasket had swelled and got bigger. So be prepared for that. The only way I could get it to kind of stay in the groove was to put a little grease on it to hold it in place. I haven't tested the bike yet since reinstalling the carbs, but I'm hoping that it won't leak. If it does leak, I'll have to order new O-ring gaskets. They're in the shape of the carburetor bowl, so they're really weird looking. But anyway, the other thing was, let me backtrack. If you replace these boots, they only go on one way, and there's a little casting mark on your cylinder head, and there's a little slot on the boot, and that's how you orient these boots. If you're not changing the boot, just loosen the carbs loosen the clamp to the boot at the carburetor. Don't loosen it down here. You can pop it off that way and just leave the boots on. But anyway, so the next little thing that I learned is these are your choke tubes, or whatever you want to call it, that go in to operate your choke. And they are a pain. But what makes it easier is if you, let me see tough to see what I'm doing on camera, but there's a rubber boot that covers a nut or a nutted sleeve that's threaded that goes into the body of the carburetor. If you peel this thing back and get it back far enough, this nut will spin a lot easier, and you'll be able to thread this into the carb. Took me a while to figure that one out, but I eventually did it. So you got a choke tube on this side, and you got one on the other side. And another little thing that you can do, at least it was an issue on my bike, is I had to zip tie, press this radiator hose up and zip tie it out of the way, because this is where your other tube is, right here on the other side. And I had to zip tie this thing way up out of the way in order to make enough room to be able to work in there. Let me see if I could show you from the other side here. So you can kind of see, you don't have a whole lot of room back in here. So if you push this thing up out of the way, you'll get a lot better access to that. So anyway, that was the point of this video. If it helps you out, that's awesome.